Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Berkley CruiseFest this evening here. And it's a beautiful night in Berkeley here. And I'm Dave Gutierrez, and I'm definitely being assisted by my good fellow announcer here.
Yeah, Art Surprenant. I've got the big mouth, so I don't think we're going to have any dead air for the next little bit of time. Berkeley's actually celebrating the 24th year of their show here. The Woodward Dream Cruise is celebrating the 25th year.
Yes, they are.
It's really nice the way all the towns up and down Woodward have joined in the fun and festivities. I mean, come on, let's face it, this is a big party.
Yes, it is, and especially for Michigan, and being excited about being obviously the heart of the automotive industry worldwide. And once a year, we like to throw some really nice cruise parties. I've had people come here, and I know you've talked to them before. They've never been here for the Dream Cruise, and they come, and they're just like overwhelmed. I've had guys tell me, "You guys are really crazy about cars." And I said, "Well, you know, it's been a mainstay here in this town for so many years that it's worked out for us very nicely." I see the cruise is starting now.
Our cars coming down yet?
Yes, they are. Here they come. They haven't reached us here yet.
Yeah, it's a little disorienting because we've got cameras and we've got a monitor, but we are looking right at it live, and there's a difference in time lapse.
Yes, there is.
So
and the Berkley PD is gracious enough to lead off this wonderful evening of automotive history here this evening, and some of the first half dozen cars or so will have some of the city officials in them, and I believe in the second vehicle will be Dan Turbach, our mayor of Berkley, Michigan here, and I know he's excited, as are the fellow city officials, to be part of this kickoff parade here.
Now I'm looking at that. That's a 55, 56 Bel Air.
It's a 55 Bel Air, and it looks like turquoise. Would that be turquoise?
I'm trying to remember what they had a funny name for it because that was a popular color back then.
It's teal.
Yeah.
It's
well, to
teal.
me, that's a funny name. So.
That's right. It's teal and white, and it is a beautiful car. And I was talking over earlier with Art how many different models there were back then. And there were a tremendous amount of models available back then, color schemes. And right behind it, we have a beautiful 66 Bonneville. And I believe that's the mayor inside there. Yes, it is. And he's excited to see his constituents here in Berkeley. And it looks like the festivities are just getting kicked off now.
You know, and I hate to sound like the typical announcer, but you know, it looks like there's a smile on every face.
There is. The people are excited to be here this evening, and we have been blessed to have such wonderful weather here this evening. And I know that the folks, a lot of times you go out on Woodward, it's very packed with people, a little over 1.2 million people. But here on this specific Friday night on Berkeley, it's just a lovely night for a family gathering and a cruise.
Yeah,
and there's the mayor, Dan Turbach, right there.
Mm-hmm. I had to chuckle here because now we can see the cars going by. And the police car had some beautiful flame job on the side.
Yes, it did. I saw that when it went by.
I'd definitely call that an unmarked car.
Yes, you would. You could see it a mile away here.
Is that an original color? That the Pontiac almost looks like it's got a one of those color fade paint jobs.
It could be. We've got a 65 Galaxy 500 coming up here. Beautiful convertible car. It looks like we've got some folks from the VFW in there, and they've got a full house coming up here.
Yeah, that Ford convertible is the one I was telling you about that my friend's mother had bought. We got to ride around in it from time to time. Oh,
and we have an Edsel here.
Convertible? Is that a convertible?
Yes, it was. Famous story behind that. We've got some of our great military folks joining us this evening as part of the parade, and some past city officials here that have joined us. We have a beautiful Mustang coming up, and the Mustangs has so many iterations that it's amazing that Ford has been able to take them all this way. You can see there was a beautiful 61 Thunderbird that just came out of our viewing area here.
With the big Dick Curtin sign on the side. I wonder if that's him and his daughters, or...
It could very well be. I believe that was a 58 Edsel Pacer.
He is a big name
that we just saw here. Yes, he is. There's some more folks.
It looks like a 63 Ford behind.
Yes, it is.
These things always fascinate me. I just love old cars.
So we have a
And some of the new
57
ones.
Chevy convertible that's coming up now. It looks like it's black and silver. And we've just got a great collection of different vehicles here from different years. And I think that people really enjoy seeing the different models go by and seeing them. We've got a beautiful Corvette there. I believe it's a 67 from what I see. And we've got a really bright red. Is that a Cobra Jet? It's red. Yes, it is.
That's the Torino they were talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's funny, back in the 50s and over the years, different manufacturers have tried different tricks just to spice up the car.
Yes.
And I remember back in the middle 50s, Chevy for sure, and I believe Ford did it too, used to hide the gas cap under a piece of trim that was hinged.
Yes, they did. That
And it
was
used to be so funny when you'd pull in, and the poor gas station attendant had never seen one
to fill
before.
up the car up. That's correct. We've got a beautiful Cuda up here. Looks like it's a Hemi Cuda. Purple. Beautiful car. And these cars have really managed to maintain their what they're worth over the years. I know at the time.
More than maintained, Dave.
More than maintained.
I'd love to have one. And I mean,
That's
I don't have
right.
enough blood to sell.
And looks like we have behind it, we've got a beautiful, I think we were talking about earlier what that color was.
Oh, is that the one
On that
that's,
Cuda.
not tangerine.
It's creamsicle. It's creamsicle. A gentleman has taken the big plunge and dared to be different and has a creamsicle Barracuda out here.
How do we miss that bright orange Chevy truck over there? That's a beauty, too.
It is a beauty, too. I
We got
believe
about,
that's
I
a
believe
C10.
66, I believe, Belvedere.
Yes. It's got the big Hemi hood scoop. Don't know if it's a Hemi. It looks like it might be a 440.
Sounds like it might be have a little something extra
Oh, yeah.
installed.
I believe it does. Certainly, if you want to stand out in the crowd, paint your car creamsicle, and you'll definitely stand out in the crowd. And they have this evening here. Roadrunner here, beautiful Roadrunner.
Although, you know, at the time when they came out, they were not considered a full-size car. I actually had one, but it was so cool going down the road.
Got a really nice Plymouth Belvedere coming up here. And I remember the base engine on these used to be, usually came with a 383, but you could get a 440 in them back then. And it made for quite a high-performance street machine back then. And certainly worthwhile now. I love the look of the Plymouth Belvederes from back then.
I've always liked them myself. I gotta say, I had the
64 Plymouth
GTX.
Fury, yes.
I had a 66 Charger, basically the same body style. I just kind of liked that, what they used to call a box on a box, but I always thought it was attractive.
Yes, it was and still is. And I believe that we have a Roadrunner here.
I'm kind of pleasantly surprised at the high percentage of Chrysler-built products, as opposed to at the time, they only had about 25% of the market. And yet, I'd say we've got almost 40% of the cars here are Chrysler products, and that's nice to see.
Yes, we do. And I remember when the cars came out specifically from Plymouth, one of their come-ons with the buying public was the different colors they had. Whether it was orange or this vibrant yellow vehicle that we have here. It's a 71 Roadrunner. And by this time, I remember the horsepower ratings were starting to drop already due to insurance regulations. And so you had to have a healthy paycheck coming in, not to afford the car payment, but to afford the insurance on these vehicles back then.
Dave, my brother, actually, when he bought the GTX before I did,
Yes,
he actually paid more for his insurance for a year than he did for the car.
that's true.
$1,800 he paid for the insurance for a
Oh,
year.
yes, and that was a lot. It was a big bite out of your paycheck. We have a beautiful Roadrunner here, another 69 Roadrunner. And behind it, we have a really nice Challenger. Come here. Here's one of the crowd favorites of all time. I think that when Lee Iacocca thought of this one here, he certainly went above and beyond the Call of Duty. I think he felt that the American public wanted a little sporty car they could drive around, and certainly the Mustang fit the bill from back then.
Well, they had so many different options that it could either be a nice family car, just to get around car,
Yes.
second car, or you could put a little bit of money into buying it, and you could come up with a really nice performance car
Yes, you could.
for the time.
Yes.
And what?
Beautiful Oldsmobile coming up
what
here.
that is?
Yes.
It looked a little bit
Beautiful.
like a Hudson to me, but you've got the list, so.
Yep. And it's back then. I remember the colors really stood out. This is a regular driver car from back then, and people could buy it, and you really stood out in the crowd in your neighborhood. The color, the double color scheme was mimicked by many other manufacturers at the time, but this is really a beautiful one here. I believe we have another Ford coming up here, a convertible too. It looks to be a 62 or 63 Galaxy. I believe that's what it is. And got a really nice Dodge coming up. You can see the double paint schemes again.
55, 56. I'm a little bit surprised. Some of these people are getting a little exuberant, and I think they forgot that they don't have disc brakes on those cars.
That's right. You can see the tail fins on the Dodge there, and it's really a beautiful car. That was a big deal back then. They got a GTO coming up, Le Mans body style with the hood scoops on it. And these are really flashy cars. The styles have changed so much. It appears to be like a 70.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that was John DeLorean's baby.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Got a really nice Corvette coming up here. And the Corvette styling has been timeless over all the years. Even when it first came out, such an exotic looking car back then. They weren't cheap by any means, but if you could purchase one at the time, you certainly were going to stand out from the crowd, that's for sure. Got a really nice Grand Prix coming up here. And another 63, 64.
I believe that, remember we were talking earlier, I said that the pointed fenders should make it a 64, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it is. It is. And here's a really nice Bonneville convertible. Certainly a sought-after car for the Dream Cruise this year or the Berkley Cruise this year. And definitely let you stand out in the crowd and let you take in the sunshine.
Yeah, but you know what? Every one of these cars, because of the way it's been taken care of, will stand out in the crowd.
Yes, that's very true. These aren't very few daily drivers here, as they'd say.
Yeah, and it's to me that's kind of a shame. And like American Pickers talks about it, some others about restorations now, where you get a vehicle, just make sure it's mechanically in good shape, but leave it looking a little bad on the outside because it's like a wrinkled face. You earned that, you know.
I know a lot of times that the people get a car, you have a decision to make. You're going to make it to factory standards, how they look back then, or are you going to resto mod it and change it up?
Yep.
You have a decision either way, and I think that on many occasions, like the Bonneville here, it will cost you more to bring it back to the way it was than to resto mod it, simply because of the work involved to make it exact.
I was actually talking to a lady that had a Camaro convertible at one of the other car shows on the east side of Detroit. And it actually did. It cost her 3 times as much to restore it when she decided to, as it did to purchase a brand new.
A 64 Plymouth here. This turned out to be quite a high performance car here. And it's a Dodge. It's quite a high performance car from back then. So many different engine combinations. You could get the 426 stage 3 wedge Mopar engine in it, and which is really powerful at that time. And an all-time favorite, 68, 69.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out.
Chevelle. I believe it's a 69 convertible that we have here in front of us here, right behind the Mopar. And
I've noticed the last few years a lot more people are digging out the old pickup trucks, and some of them are coming out looking pretty darn nice.
Yes, they are.
Because they make a real nice project.
Yes, they are. Another convertible Mopar, and in this iteration, it looks like it's a 383 version, which is a Dodge RT, and followed up beside by a vintage Corvette here. And what's really always strikes me a lot is the Corvettes, just like the Mustangs, have maintained their price point in terms of resale because the people that own them or want to buy them have been willing to pay that price. And so the level for the prices for the cars, even though they are 30, 40 years old, has been maintained.
You know what always puzzles me is we're looking at a lot of the classic Challengers here made from about 71 to 74, 70 to 74. And they made a Barracuda at the same time, and the only real difference was a character line on the Challenger.
That's correct.
And it's funny because you almost never see a Barracuda out there.
No, you don't. You are correct.
I've always wondered why, because they're basically made on the same line. They're the same car.
Got a beautiful Monte Carlo. I believe it's a 72.
And there's one of those projects of Projects of love. I mean, come on. You got
That's
to put
right.
a lot of work into something like that.
We've got a gold coupe
Boy, that's
here
a
going
nice
by.
paint job, too.
It is.
It glows all the way over here.
Yes, it does. And here is one of Ralph Nader's favorites. Unsafe at any speed, and it turns out that it wasn't unsafe at any speed, but at the time, the Corvair took a brunt of the safety impact from it, and as a result, sales fell off in 1969, and GM opted not to sell that vehicle anymore. We have a beautiful Lincoln here.
You know what's funny about that Corvair is that Dolly Cole, who was the wife of the then general manager of Chevy, refused to give up her Corvair. She loved it. And they are unsafe. I've been in them. They will spin. They will tip over really easy.
And we have a beautiful 57 Chevy Bel Air here coming up for us. Convertible. And we've seen quite a few convertibles tonight.
A lot. Well, nice weather, and that's one of
Yes.
the things that, and I really don't blame these people for the amount of time and money and effort they put into these vehicles.
Looks like this one's been heavily modified. Looks like it's been lowered, aftermarket rims and tires. Got another older street rod coming up, been heavily modified also. Followed up by a really nice 67 GTO. 67, could be a 66. It's got the Tiger on top though. It's got the Tiger, and it's got a baby Tiger with it also. You can see it there. And they're enjoying the cruise a lot. And it looks like it's a night out for all the Tigers. The baby Tigers are staring in your direction. And one of them stopped for some TV time. A beautiful gold paint job on that. It's a 65. I was wrong. We've got a Trans Am coming up. And also a large Impala.
65? They're a little newer.
This right here is 65. Could be a 66. It's tough to tell from the fender lines. They're really close.
Yeah.
It's followed up by a Mustang also.
Some models of that Chevy actually had the biggest trunk they've ever had. It was huge.
It was large. Yes, it was. Looks like that's a 65 or a 66. And it looks like we have a Firebird. Firebird looks to be a 68 coming up here. And this was really GM's, at the time, GTO was considered intermediate, and this is a little smaller version, but you can still get a 400 HO motor in it. And we have another really nice Impala. Looks to be a 66 or a 67.
And remember, I just made the comment about a pickup trucks, and
Yes, and here's a
right
beautiful
there.
Ford truck right here. And from seeing the Ford trucks back then, you never thought that they would go off and be as popular as they are for a parade or a cruise street machine.
Well, they were
and
a
they
tool.
are.
They
Yes,
were a
they
tool.
were
You know, you
working
didn't worry about
vehicles.
how good it looked.
They were working vehicles, and the people use them, and now they're pleasure vehicles. A really nice Oldsmobile convertible coming up. Followed by Bonneville, another convertible vehicle. Looks like they're in big demand today, and what weather we've had here. Not only all week for the Dream Cruise, we've had a few showers here and there, but it's been just wonderful weather for all the folks to come out and enjoy it.
Look at that, another Corvair.
Another Corvair.
That's nice to see, because there were a lot of them around at the time, and yet for some reason you don't see a lot of them at the shows.
That's right, you don't. Got a 64 Galaxy. It could be a 3, but it looks like it's a 4. Followed up by it, and believe it or not, even back then you could get in the high performance side, you could get a 406 Ford in this thing, and I believe it was rated about 325 horsepower, and was.
I'll tell you what, the 390s they put in there were no slouches.
Yes, you're
really
correct.
went.
You're correct. This is like a 63 or 64 Corvair here. Beautiful car. I think people first saw it at the time, they didn't believe that the engine was located where it was in the back.
It was a little too different, I think.
Yes. People weren't
kind
sure
of ahead
about
of its
that.
time in a way.
Yep, and your trunk became your front of your vehicle now. We have a really beautiful Thunderbird coming up here. And the color's pretty bright. It's almost like a Pepto-Bismol color there,
it's
right?
kind of. I wonder if it's one of those colors. Certain colors will look different under certain types of lights, artificial lighting.
It could be.
But that's a very interesting color, but I think it's an original color.
Yes, I believe it is. I believe it is. And the ladies are out in force this evening. Look at that. They're in their Thunderbird.
I believe
and we've got a lead sled here coming up here.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Looks purple. A Merc lead sled. And really, these vehicles here, right around the time of the beginning of the Korean War, was the base for a lot of the custom work. Gene Winfield, a lot of the guys there on the West Coast took these vehicles and modified them heavily, and it's custom. Guys call them lead sleds. We have a really nice Avanti. Yes, yes.
Can you see if that's got a white interior? Because I interviewed this guy a couple of years ago. I don't believe, no, that's not the car.
It looks red.
His car was unbelievably pristine.
Now these
I've
cars,
always loved them. So.
They were, the last ones were built, believe it or not, in 2006 and were finally phased out, but they're gone. You could tell there was a difference. We've got a delivery vehicle here, and those are work trucks. But I think a lot of the street rodders felt that was a prime area for making a nice street rod.
Well, back then, a lot of them got the Ford Anglia panels because they were so small and light.
Yes, they were.
That was a big thing.
Yes. Have a beautiful turquoise here, Oldsmobile here. I'm hoping that's what it is. We have so many variations on the vehicles here this evening.
And sometimes when they're the same colors, the same color scheme, it is a little hard to tell.
That's right. Now here is a 63, could be a 60, but it looks like a 63 Falcon. And even these vehicles, you could get, I think the fender panels you can see here, they actually have this one has a 260 in it. You get a 260 4-barrel 4-speed car. And what made them such formidable cars on the street was they only weighed 26 or 2,500 pounds. And even if they only had 200 horsepower,
you could actually get them as a 289, by the way.
Yes, that's correct.
And then another, I'm really surprised. Yeah, another pickup, an El Camino.
An El Camino pickup. They were very popular when they first came out. People weren't quite sure what to make them. Did you use it for work?
Yep.
Did you use it for play? And I used to go to the races a lot back then. I was younger. A lot of guys used them for tow vehicles back then. They were great tow vehicles.
It's funny, you almost never see the Ranchero, which was the Ford version. There's a few around, but you see so many more El Caminos.
Yes, you do. And we have another Mopar coming up here. It's a Plymouth, and it's a Sport Fury from back then. And it looks to be a 65. I believe that's what it is.
My guess.
Yes.
Oh, and then a wagon.
Beautiful Dodge wagon here coming up. And we talk about like people go on trips now, but back then this was the mainstay of the family traveling down to go to the interstate and go visit different states and attractions. The ever faithful station wagon.
Oh yeah.
I always liked the ones where the seat sat backwards so you could see where you were coming, where you just drove past, and those are always popular. Another Chevy pickup truck here. Done up beautifully, and it appears in a bronze and a white configuration, and certainly not doing any more work chores like it was meant to.
Oh no, there must. I'm just looking. There must be some type of reviewing stand in front of it, because if you notice, they're all stopping and then cruising through. A few of them getting a little tire warming job in.
Got a looks like a 71 or 72 Corvette here. 61 through 63 Thunderbirds. It was really difficult to tell them. The only way you could tell it was the front nose pieces and the tail lights were a little bit different. We've got a nice, beautiful Chevelle here. It looks to be like a 71 perhaps. And now these here, remember in 70 and still in 71, you could get the 454, the LS6 in those cars back then, and made them quite a formidable vehicle back then. And another beautiful street rod coming up, and looks like they have an extra passenger waving to everybody. It's a beautiful car. We've got a Nova, a Chevy 2. We've gone through quite a few iterations from that. We've got some Model Ts going by. Beautiful Ford, appears to be about a 28. And here, another convertible Corvette. It's tough to tell from the front and back unless you're a real Corvette aficionado. It could be anything from a 70, a 69, all the way up to 70.
Might have been a 74. It looked a lot like the one
74 had the pointed tail end on it.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. So we have a...
that's the Oldsmobile?
Oldsmobile. It's an Oldsmobile. Looks like they have it out. And this looks like a Ford here. I always
another beautiful... oh, look at the paint job.
There you go.
You see it?
Model. There's another Ford here. Look at that. That Model A is still running out there. And what do we have here? It looks like a 23. Could be a 28. People always ask me here. But some of the guys change the body style so much, you have a hard time telling.
Now, are they pushing this car, or what's going on with it?
It looks like they have an issue here with this one.
Sorry to hear that.
Two,
Yeah, they
it
are
looks like it
pushing
has
the car.
4 manpower. No horsepower involved there. That's all manpower.
And I love the fact instead of helping them, the
she's
young lady
filming,
walking
that's
around
right.
filming her. To critique their performance
That's
later,
right.
I'm sure.
We've got a really
Nice
nice
old Nova.
Rally Nova going by, and it looks like an SS
Another old
Camaro
SS
coming
Camaro?
up. That's correct. It
And
looks to be about a 71 or a 70. It's
I
tough
believe
to.
it's a 63 Plymouth behind it.
Yes, it is. You are correct. And a convertible one too. And I think one of the base motors wasn't it like a 318 back then.
They had a couple. 318 was a big one. Slant 6, which could be surprisingly fast if you put a few bucks into it. I had a friend from Chicago that did that. Used to beat a lot of the big blocks. And this is a Pontiac.
I believe that's what it is. I believe it to be about 37. This is like a 59 or a 60 Corvette. Might be a little bit earlier. I remember one of the most difficult engines you could get in the vehicle back then was the fuel injection model. And you definitely have to take it back to the dealer at least once a month to get the fuel injection too. It was a mechanical.
Yeah, I was just going to say, a friend of mine had one, mechanical fuel injection.
Yes.
You had to be almost an artist to set that.
You did. You definitely had to be. And another early Corvette here. And these vehicles have definitely maintained their worth over the years. If you've maintained it, they definitely hold their value. And it looks like we have a superhero. Batman's in the house and Superman. Or is that the Flash? I'm not sure. It looked like Batman and Superman. Another 65 Mustang here. And I remember the base model back then was a 6-cylinder and with a 3-speed on the floor to give it a little bit of a sporty effect. And here we have a 55 Chevrolet Gasser.
Oh, right.
It's a Gasser. They got the little moon eyes on it. And it's made to look, it's jacked up in front and made to look. This is a 79. Hope nobody's going to do a burnout here. That wouldn't be safe.
Yeah, there must be reviewing stand. Oh, now there's
57 Ford. Looks like a 57 Ford. And another Gasser there. You got Oldsmobile.
I got to say, I did not realize how much I missed hearing those engines.
It is, especially in a closed environment where you can really hear them renovate.
Well, we're almost like in a tunnel here.
That's
so
right, we
wonderful.
are. Maverick.
Oh.
Here was another
It's not on
economy
fire.
car. Yeah, here's another economy car that Ford introduced back then, and it was a hit for them. You could get the vinyl top on it. You could even
Is
get
that
a
a Maverick or a
302 in
Punto,
it.
the second one?
No, that's a Maverick.
Is it a Maverick?
Another Maverick. Yeah, it looks like they came together. That one's been modified. Got bigger rims and tires on it. And another beautiful street rod here. Love the paint job. Love the rims. So many, if you decide not to take it back to stock, there are so many more colors and variations that you can do. Almost looks like a little hump on the back.
And that's
Another beautiful Ford truck
an
here.
old Ford.
It is an old Ford truck.
It's funny how many of those. I had a friend that had a thing with a 48 Plymouth truck. And in all honesty, I go to a lot of these car shows, and it's very hard for me to figure out which is which because they all look so much alike.
Their dog is getting a lot to smell on.
Oh yeah.
Right. It looks like this is a Plymouth here. I believe this is a Plymouth. An older Plymouth. Yes, it is. It's a Plymouth coming up here.
I'm surprised they're not dressed like Bonnie and Clyde.
That's right. And these cars were big. Talk about the interior and the back seat. Lots of legroom. Don't have to worry about any of that. And another Mopar here. Looks like he changed up. Looks like a 440. Put a 440 hood scoop on it.
That's actually a stock paint job on that.
Yes.
I don't know if that is, but that was.
It was. No variation on the yellow. And
now that
Malibu.
was like a first or second. No, isn't that a Chevelle?
Nope. Yes, it is. Malibu, Chevy, Malibu, Chevelle. Yes, you are correct. You see Malibu SS on it right there.
They had a funny little problem. First year they came out, they had a U-shaped frame, and if you were on a super bumpy road, you could actually bend the frame.
That's right. Another beautiful Ford truck. This is from the 50s here, and they've become really popular with the builders.
Yes.
And another El Camino appears to be a 69, and it's an SS. Don't see the badges for a 396, which means it's probably a 350. And another
old Falcon.
Another old Falcon. My dad owned a couple of Texaco stations back a million years ago, and he loved the Falcon 60 through 63. Said they were easier to work on. They were all 6 cylinders, and I had to learn how to drive in that thing with a 3 on the tree. So I certainly had my work cut out to me. It was all a matter of getting your footstep. Here's a little older. This is about an 80 El Camino here, and we've got some folks relaxing in the back. One folk relaxing in the back, and
well, good for him. I was actually
that's right.
I was actually told yesterday I couldn't drive a truck down Woodward filming with somebody in the back unless they were secured. So
that's correct.
Hope he doesn't decide to jump out.
There's
and run.
one of those 74 Corvettes. See, the tail end was pointed.
Oh no, I remember. I'm not arguing with you. You're right. You just
another Camaro and another looks like a big Ford. Isn't this a Ford here?
This has almost become like a specialty show, and there's a lot of pickups. I'd say almost over half convertibles.
Looks like kind of a gasser look there out of that 62 Impala.
Yep.
Remember they came with a 409. She's so fine, my 409. And really a sought-after engine now. And another El Camino.
Do you know, are they remanufacturing that block?
Yes, they do. Everything you can want from the 409s has become such a popular build. You have a choice of buying an old engine, the W engines they were called, and putting it in a car, or you can buy one that's remanufactured. The block, the heads, everything, and you can buy it now, and certainly makes the car worth more. Another older street rod Ford.
A lot of the, I don't even know what you call them, a lot of people that take care of the old cars, they want everything stock.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Another Corvette there. It's a 70 through 73. Tough to tell from the trim. And we've got a Chevy. I remember they had the Nomads. This appears to be a Bel Air wagon. I can't see the roof line. It's a Nomad. And these
now that I believe is an old Jaguar.
Yes, it is. It is an old Jaguar, and those weren't cheap back then. Those are expensive cars they had, but back then in the 50s there was a big sports car craze, and people used them up. We have a look at this Dodge van here.
Another thing that brings back memories.
Oh boy, and it would fit a lot of people back then. And I remember from my old days of going to Milan, Michigan, there was a guy who took one of these, and it was a wheel standard vehicle. It was called the Mystery Mover.
There's one of those old Valiants we were talking about earlier.
Yes, it is. Look at that. It's a Valiant.
Ran into a guy at a car show a couple years back, the Clausen car show. They had a Valiant wagon, and
very rare.
So rare that the company said they never made it. So.
Well,
we had quite a conversation about it. I mean, obviously it was there, but
a lot of the cars that we're seeing here, as you well know, there were drivers. And so a lot of the cars, the people have been lucky enough to preserve a lot of these vehicles. I mean, they have them, but the vast majority of these vehicles, cousins and brothers, they're gone.
Yep.
I mean, you had a driver, they rusted out, they wrecked, just became junk. So these folks here are really lucky to have these vehicles here. And really doesn't matter what body style, as long as you have a nice wheels, you're doing good. Got another Corvette coming up here. Really nice dark silver, dark gray paint job, and a beautiful 67 GTO. I remember had the tri-power. I think by 67 though, they only could get a single 4-barrel. They were hard to tune up and hard to maintain. There's a Chevrolet. It's a nice Chevrolet street rod here, and beautiful paint on it. It's beautiful. You see the sun setting now. It really sets off some of the paint jobs. Got a nice 67 Mustang here. Got a Dodge RT.
Yep. Those were so beautiful. It's something about the paint jobs too that just grabbed me. That's the bronze.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of what it was called. There was one color called Russet Sunfire.
Look, the ladies are in the house. It looks like is this a Oldsmobile, Buick Electra? Well, might be an Oldsmobile.
An old VW van.
Yes, VW van.
You know, there's quite a large number of women that are running cars around here that it's their cars.
Yes, it is. That's correct.
And it is nice. I've talked to a few of them over the last couple of years. They're always very entertaining.
The sport has definitely done good by having the amount of women, young or older, that come into the sport. Nice Chevelle. And another 65, I believe it's a 65 Mustang. ZSS.
As they switch from camera to camera, we've missed a couple of really interesting cars right in front of that Vanagon. was another old Chevy carryall, I think they called them.
Yes.
With a two-tone paint job,
Yes.
silver and blue silver, just beautiful.
57 T-Bird. And it is beautiful. There's the fins again that were so prevalent in the 50s. The designers wanted to somehow relate to the jets back then with the fins on the airplanes. And
Harley Earl actually had his one-off car that looked almost like a jet airplane.
yes. Another beautiful Ford truck here. And we've got some oldies but goodies coming up. So many nice body styles from the 40s and the 50s.
Is that another Plymouth? I'm really not that good with the super old ones like this.
Me and you both, but I'm glad that people have preserved them over the years because it adds to the flavor.
Such good care.
And here we are.
Say what you want. You know, everybody's taste is a little different.
Got to have a Cadillac in there. And we've got, is this what?
This is when they first started getting rid of the fins from the look.
Yes, it is.
Oh, there's a prize winner. Obviously proud
what
of
a
it.
hood ornament. What a hood ornament. This gentleman has turned in his classic Chevy, has turned his trophy into his hood ornament, which means somewhere along the line he had some good luck with the car. Right? Showing it proudly.
I hope it's not just a participation.
That's right.
I had one of these old Novas.
Yes.
Really a surprisingly well-handling car.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And another Corvair. We have another Corvair coming up.
It's funny, for a while you couldn't give them away, and now people would stand in line to get them.
That's right. Look at the fire engine here. Sporting the Berkley Fire Department colors with their Dalmatian pup in the front there.
Yeah, it's funny. Several of the fire departments around here have old classic
yes, they do.
Fire trucks that they
yes,
show.
they do. I love the air conditioning for the VW. Open up the front windows.
The painting. Cool.
The painting is cool. Looks like it's some hippie 60s action here, right? Peace, love, and VW. There they are. Look at that. Wonder if that one made it to Woodstock. Maybe it did. Who knows?
I didn't know. There's an old land.
Another big Chrysler New Yorker. Look at that. Plenty of room in that one. Oh, my gosh. You could definitely sit 6 people. Very easy.
Well, the extra room made it very, very popular with the teenagers.
Yeah, that's right, it was. Here we have a classic Chevrolet truck, and a guy has chosen some beautiful colors for it. And
it's surprising. I've talked to a few of these guys also, because some of these paint jobs just are, they're stunning.
Yes, they are.
They've actually gone to fashion designers to talk to them, what should I do? Which way should I go?
Yes, yes, got a beautiful Grand Prix coming up here. And bronze, that's one of my favorite colors with the white vinyl top. And of course, another Camaro, looks to be an SS version. I always, even when the cars are new back then, you notice how the front was up, raised a little. I never talked to anybody.
You know, it's funny, I never noticed that until I started going to the car show.
That's right, it was up. And a lot of the
62?
Mustangs, a lot of the Shelby Mustangs were like that. You have a 62 Impala here. Got the cross flags. That shows that it's a V8. We've got the gal with a poodle skirt. She's waving the colors. Got the poodle skirt look back then. Rock around the clock. We have another Plymouth, old Plymouth coming up here. The headlights at the time, the way they were attached, you weren't sure if they were attached to the body and the front fender.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I think
Nice
behind
Chevelle.
that Chevelle, I could be wrong. I believe that's a Packard.
Well, whatever it is, it's a stick, because he started drifting
Yeah,
backwards.
start drifting backwards here. Is that what it is? It could very well be. I believe that's what it is. Beautiful car, and the Lincoln. I don't know what year it was when they had the suicide doors that opened up. I'm not sure.
I think they
what
had it for
year.
a couple of years.
Yes, they did.
60 or 59?
Yes, 59, and it could be a 60. I'm not sure. And here's the fins again.
Yeah.
And
Sideways, but still.
Sideways, but they're still fins. That's right. And you got to think, of course, there were no computer programs to make the car, so you got to. What a tough deal. What are we going to design that the people will like the following year? And I mean, nowadays you can change you can change it on your computer screen, your CAD, to show whatever you want. But back then it was all slide rule, all seat of the pants design. Another beautiful Corvair coming through. Look at that. That one's got a big spider and the monkey in it.
Well,
Not
that was
sure.
one of the designations, was a Spider.
The
for
Spider, that's
performance
correct.
package.
That's correct.
A handling
Followed by
package, I
another
believe.
Corvette. Looks like this might be a 67, 8, or 9. They were difficult to tell. I'm sure the Corvair folks will say, come on, you got to know better than that. But I'm lucky that I have
You know what?
here
You
because
can't know them all anymore.
you
I
can't
thought
know
I
them
was
all
pretty
anymore.
good.
It's tough to. Oh, look at that one. That might be a 69. They did have back then. That one we just saw had like 180 horsepower, and it was very fast. Only weighed about 2,300 pounds. And,
Well, they did have a Pancake 6.
yes,
which was
they
scary.
did. That's correct. Another Corvair, an earlier one. I think we've seen like a half a dozen or more Corvairs this evening.
Quite a few, and then
Chrysler.
Valiant.
Is it a Valiant?
Yep.
Yes, it is. Look at that. That's a really
and the
nice
convertible
one.
Valiants, there weren't a lot. Now, this is a 64.
64 Galaxy All-American, showing the colors there. Grand folks are getting out for a beautiful evening. Probably didn't have to take much to talk them getting into that vehicle. And another wonderful Corvair. I don't think I've ever seen this many Corvairs.
This is almost
in a
turning
parade.
into a sort of a specialty show. Corvairs, pickups, Chrysler products.
Yes.
Because there's a very high percentage Chrysler products here today too.
Yes.
Having been at several of the other shows, there's a very high percentage.
Another Corvette.
Now, is
Could be
this
a
the
57
Challenger?
to a 62.
Barracuda.
Looks to be it's a Dodge Challenger.
You know, I built one of these years ago. They are so much fun. These little VW bugs.
Yep.
They are a blast.
They are, and I've seen some with VW engines. I've seen some with Corvair engines.
Yep.
And it doesn't make as much as 200 or 300 horsepower, and they're very fast. Another Corvette convertible. We've had quite a plethora of convertibles here this evening, and same thing. This could be a 70 through a 73. Beautiful yellow, sporting factory rims. Stingray. Boy, that name has served Chevrolet well over the years.
Oh, yeah. Another nice old Chevy truck.
Yep. And another Dodge Challenger. We have another Dodge Challenger sporting the hood scoops. Look, it's a 383 Magnum. The stripes, remember all the different striping packages they had
stripes,
back
we
then?
were talking earlier about how many Ford, I think, had 22 different shades of white you could buy.
Yes.
And they weren't the only ones. Chrysler had like 17 or 18 different red to brown colors.
Here was a big change for the Mustang guys when the 70.
The one that just went by, that was
Mustang
more
showed
into
up.
the ones that I really like.
Yes. And boy, oh boy, look what we have here, a Bronco.
These have become extremely popular.
Yes, they have.
in the
Very
aftermarket.
expensive, too, if
Yes.
you want to buy one or review one. But I see Ford's getting ready to come out late next year with another Bronco, 66, 67 Chevelle SS. Nova 2.
Yep.
Very popular. Got the side skirts on it. And I would never run side skirts back then. Never had a car that had
Well,
side
we always
skirts.
used to take them off. But
Yes, that's right. You're right.
then you get lost, and then your
Take
dad
them
get
off.
mad
Look
at
at
you,
this Jeep Wagoneer.
Oh, Wagoneers.
Jeep Wagoneers back, and these are selling for big money also
That's
now.
right.
They're selling for big money, and they're in big demand again. I see some across Meekum or Barrett Jackson, and they're still in big demand now. Another Corvette. You know it's before 73 because it's got the flat tail on it.
Just to give you an idea, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but just to give you an idea what a nice little crowd is. Just got a couple little fellas come down and say, hey, could we say hi on the air? Well, I'm sorry, we can't do that, but kind of did for you anyway. So.
That's right. They wanted to give a shout out to somebody in the crowd.
Well, it's nice to see they're comfortable enough to approach people they don't know.
Yes. It's really, you can see from the folks that are lining up the streets, it really is a family evening here in Berkeley. And I know it's one of the most sought after events. Nice Chevy too. One of the most looked forward to events for the folks in Berkeley here. Just a wonderful evening to bring the baby out in the carriages, perhaps bicycle down here to downtown Berkeley. And Berkeley has such a lovely downtown area. So many choices of restaurants, so many places to go to and just to shop. So we'd recommend you come down Fairlane GTA. We recommend you come down long after the Berkeley parade's over and enjoy downtown Berkeley and all that they have to offer for you and for all the folks who live outside of Berkeley.
And this show tonight, unfortunately, is only one night. If you shop around the area, you'll find that probably 2 or 3 nights out of most weeks during the summer, there'll be a little gathering of like-minded people.
There will be.
There's a bank in Troy that actually started out as something else, and they started meeting Tuesday nights, and that business went under, and the bank opened it up, and they still meet there Tuesday nights.
Yes, they do. Got a nice 54 Chevy, I believe it is. Could be a 53. And what's
Austin?
Little Austin here. Look at that. Now there was a little sports car you could definitely feel the road in.
Now, the Austin,
you could not only feel it, you were close to the
big
road.
Engines for that.
Yes, they did for that small car.
It's an odd feeling to get used to it. I had an MGB, and it's, you know, when you're looking over at somebody's hubcap and it's at eye level, it is a little odd.
It's certainly not a freeway cruiser. I wouldn't want to take it on the freeway. It's just like little smart cars. Oh my gosh.
Well, I have a friend who has one of those too. They feel like a big car when you get them out there.
You mean the feeling of the steering?
The smart car.
Yeah.
No, it feels like a big car.
Look, here's a 23T. And these were modified in so many. Hillbillies on alcohol. Wow.
Yeah, I've talked to these guys.
I hope they don't have alcohol now.
No, they run out of alcohol.
Oh, okay. Here's
Somebody's
a
working on his
Camaro's working on his car. It's a project car, but he's got it out here.
Oh, wait a minute. We got to
I saw this one here. I saw this GMC van on Woodward yesterday, and people are just blown away by it. And what gets you going is that the wheels, he's got it set up where the wheels are spinning and looks like it's just flipped over and it's going by, but certainly
well, the way our roads are around here, though, I'm sure he's very careful where he drives. That's not a lot of ground clearance.
No, it's not.
I want to be seeing those potholes coming at you.
Well, certainly a specialty vehicle for this year. I hadn't seen it before on Woodward.
Is that an electric motor driving the wheel?
Yes, it is. It's got electric motors.
Oh, and a prowler with the baby.
Prowler with a baby prowler. They got their young son back there with perhaps grandpa
Oh, it's funny,
on the
for
trailer.
as many as they built, you don't see a lot around.
No, you don't.
A lot of them were made.
Another Oldsmobile from the 70s, 80s.
And then a 57
57 Chevy, the classic 57 Chevy.
Tell you what, though, if you keep your eyes open and just drive around, it's surprising how many you'll see parked in the garages.
Yes.
I saw a guy doing a 68 Charger, and I promised him that I wouldn't tell him what city even.
A lot of them were saved.
Oh, a lot. And then I don't know about other cities. I know in Troy there are actually several businesses that they very quietly deal in classic cars. I see them because a lot of them are the owners want them to be taken out and driven on a regular basis. So I'm always seeing Duesenbergs, old Rolls Royces.
Yes. Here's a 70 SS 454 Chevelle. And we've got another El Camino here with the Challenger stripes, a red one. And looks to be about a 69, could be a 70. And how about the Corvette here? The fastback Corvette here, beautiful. Every time I talk to somebody who's got one of these, we have a hard time looking over those fenders.
Really? There's an old, I believe, oh, that an Allard? I thought it was an MG at first, but it's not.
No, it's not. A nice British sports car, yellow and black livery on it. Love the fender, love the mirrors on the side of the.
It may be a kit car, but it really doesn't look like it.
No, it looks like it's the real deal.
Well, I'm in a couple of kit car groups, and it is amazing how many different body styles they brought over.
They have so many. Another 59 or 60 Impala there, and
a lot of nice Corvettes, but they're fiberglass, so they didn't rust. They all rusted underneath it.
That's right. The rest of them rusted, but this one didn't. Those don't. We've got so many nicer cars.
Can you read that?
Coming out? No, I can't.
The front end looked a little bit like a Hudson, but I think
that might be a Packard.
Another
I believe that's what it was, a Packard.
Well, they made them just up the road.
The only person we're missing now is Smokey. Those are so popular back then in the 70s. Everybody, and they've resurfaced again, and people are paying big money for them, and they really like them a lot. Another Mustang, and a lot of them around. You know that even if you get one that's in kind of so-so shape, the Mustang 65, they'll set you back about $15,000 to $18,000. They're very expensive.
Well, for a while there, I was watching the prices of the Barracuda or Challengers, And when when they hit 125,000 and up, I just quit looking.
Oh yeah,
They
they're
are
extremely expensive.
way up there.
Yep. We have another Chevelle, and I remember this Dodge van coming up here back then, like 64, 65. This it's a Ford.
This one's a Ford.
Ford Econoline.
I don't think Dodge ever made the pickup
No.
like that.
I remember back then a lot of these vehicles were turned into wheel stander trucks or the drag
Yes.
strips, including the Ford Econoline here, and had great viewing. The windows, the side windows, no blind spots on that one, but that's a really nice Ford right there.
VW actually made something like that. You didn't see many of them here, but the sides actually folded down so you
Yes.
could lay something flat on it
Yes.
if you needed to.
Yes, they did.
Hey,
Another
you know,
nice
I hate to say,
Corvette.
sometimes it's hard for me to talk. I start drooling when I look at all these beauties.
Well, you can 65 GTO post car. Back then, they were certainly out of the range of a lot of folks back then. Look, we have a Mini.
Yep.
We've got a Mini here. Same thing, great handling cars. I remember they used a lot of them on the road race.
Another old Falcon.
Another Falcon here. And another beautiful Ford Galaxy. And these you could get some serious V. It looks like it's like a baby blue. It looks like that's what it is, a light blue configuration. That's like a 67. And certainly no shortage of Fords and Chevys here tonight. They seem to be outweighing all the other manufacturers here this evening. And of course,
Nice old VW.
we've been patiently waiting for another convertible Cadillac, and here it comes, fins and all. I like the luggage racks of the VWs back then.
Well, they probably needed the extra weight to keep it on the ground in a high wind.
And you know, I find it hard to believe all the time that they weighed less than a ton, like 1,800 pounds or less.
Oh, when I built my first dune buggy, I was amazed at how little they weighed.
Oh, yes. Yes, and here, even though it is a 57, it's a four-door 57 back then.
Which are starting to become more popular.
Yes, they are.
For a long time, you never saw a
No,
four-door.
no, the guys didn't want
something
them.
old Hudson or something, and now
The guys didn't want them, and then they turned out to be, you know, valuable after all. And I believe we have another Packard coming up here. And even the Packards back then, they're extremely expensive now, but they were very expensive back then.
well, wasn't
They
it
weren't
the,
drivers. People probably make fun of me, but I didn't consider any Packards being drivers back then.
Well, they had a version called the Pan America, and there used to be a race in down, I think it was the Baja Peninsula,
Yes.
California, and this Packard would win just because it was
There's
so
a
well
Packard
made.
right
There's
there.
one, yeah.
There's a Packard
this
right.
original two-tone type paint job.
Yes, yes. Turquoise and black, it looks like. And
Pacer?
it looks like it's a
Or
Pacer wagon.
Concord, yeah. No, and not the Pacer, it's the next step up.
Yes, Concord. Is that what it was? Concordia Concord?
I think that's what it was called.
Yes,
I was always going to take. I thought they were a very attractive car.
yes. They were. I think they had lost interest. It was tough to keep up. It's a Marlin. This was their version
my
of the
gosh.
Fastback back then, a
Yep.
Marlin, and it came with a Chevrolet engine and a Jaguar. They have a jumping Jag here.
No, I've got a friend that just recently bought one. I didn't know if he knew about this show or not.
65 Fairlane with a high riser hood on it. Look at that, 289 perhaps.
I like the Uga horn.
Oh yeah, I don't know who's got that. What
That
vehicle
was
was-
the. I'm sorry, it was the one you're talking about, the high-rise hood.
Oh, okay.
Is that 58 Pontiac?
Looks like a Pontiac, a 58, 59. Yes, it
Convertible.
is. Convertible, beautiful car. Beautiful car.
You know, I'm sure it's just me, but a lot of the older convertibles, I like just the lines of them top up or down compared to some of the new ones.
Yes.
Some of the new ones are really pretty, but a couple of them they just don't look right when you put the top down.
Yes. Got a nice gaggle of Impalas and got a 442 Oldsmobile here. I don't know if it's a 442, but it's certainly the Oldsmobile body style from
A
back
lot of people
then.
don't know it, but because my wife was really into 442s for a few years, the federal government bought a lot of them and had them specially modified for undercover work.
Really?
I guess some of these things would almost pull wheelies straight out of the box.
They were very powerful cars back then. We have a 442 right here. 67 442 sporting the ever-present Krager mags. Another nice Chevelle, 70, 71. And another beautiful Lincoln coming up here. And it's a two-door.
Is that
Is
another-
it? Oh, it's with suicide doors.
Yep.
There's a suicide door vehicle right there.
I'm looking right at it. I'm trying to figure out the color because sometimes the camera doesn't pick it up the same as the human eye.
Yes, they don't. We have another of our antique cruisers here, and got the wire rims on, got the wood rims on it back then. Don't know that metal was at a premium back then, but there are many that have the wooden rims on them. Another
Part of the problem was people didn't know how to balance them.
That's right.
They could balance a spoke wheel, but they couldn't balance like a stamped steel
Looks
rim.
like it's a 66 Mustang, could be a 65. They were pretty close back then.
Once again, this is a nice Camaro.
Nice Camaro Resto mod, heavily modified. You can see the front spoiler on there. And it's got their version, they used to call them back fresh air hoods, like an L88 hood. It's definitely been modified. I think we can hear it going by. Yes, we can. Heavily modified.
I'm kind of impressed. I hadn't seen those wheels before. Those pretty nice wheels.
Yes. Another Ford here. Beautiful. Looks like they've got a extra driver in the back there taking up that jump seat.
It almost looks like they let the Ford Dearborn place, Ford Village, out for lunch. You know?
They've got quite a few Ford cars here this evening.
Well, there's quite a large Model A and Model T club in the area.
Big Pontiac here, and the fins are ever present. They've got big Pontiac. The cars, sometimes I look at them, I can't believe they used to make them that big, but they did. You wanted to have a lot of flash back then, and that certainly provided it for you.
Nice. Now there's a nice old Chrysler.
Oh boy. Fins, the fins.
Oh yeah, these.
I think the record holder was like the Cadillacs.
There was
maybe?
one Cadillac that had huge fins.
Yes.
I wish I could. My father had several of these Chryslers like this with the big fins, Chrysler Windsors and a few others.
Yes.
They were really nice cars.
That's
they had
Challenger.
a 361 small block engine. No, it was a very small bore of the 383 engines, and they were phenomenally powerful. Wow, a Bricklin.
We have a Bricklin here.
There's actually, I've written
Bricklin's
a story
house.
a few years ago about a guy who loved his Bricklin so much he insisted on being buried with it.
That was a big spot they had to dig up for it. Sir Malcolm Bricklin came to those cars, and
what killed him was the AMC drivetrain.
Yes, that's correct. People didn't like the idea of spending that much and getting an AMC drivetrain.
And an Ampha car.
The Ampha car is in the house here, and what have they got there? It looks like they got somebody with a ducky float, a rubber ducky float in the back of the Ampha car, and there it is, the duck saying hello to everybody here in Berkeley.
If you know where to look on the Clinton River, there's actually a guy that's got a white one of those parked in his living room, and you can see through the glass doors.
Really?
Yeah.
Another Jeep. Is that what it is?
Moldy.
No, it's Ford. It's a Ford.
No,
it's
I think that's a Jeepster. Let me get a look.
Is
that's
it?
a Jeepster.
Oh, it's a Jeepster. You're
very,
right.
Very unusual.
Yes,
vehicle.
it is. Yes, it is.
They actually had articulation front and back so they could twist going.
That's correct.
Through culverts
and this is a rare vehicle here. This is the Dodge convertible truck that they made for just a couple of years.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I haven't seen one of those in quite a while.
I think American Sunroof was in on that thing there.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, I think they were. I know it was built. It wasn't on the production line. They took them and chopped the roofs off and made them from that. We have another Ford here.
About a 53?
53, 54.
Hard for me.
Crestliner.
Like I said, it's hard for me to tell back then.
Yes, Crestliner. 65. Falcon, 64, 65. I believe it's a 65.
Kind of car I learned to drive in.
Beautiful car, beautiful car. I had one time. Was going to turn it into a race car, and ended up selling it before I did that. I wanted to put a 427 in it and replicate an AFX. Here's a Hearst Olds from back then. 455 HO Hearst Olds. Very powerful vehicle at that time, and actually had about 390 horsepower out of that 455. Big spoiler on the back. Another older Mopar. And
this really turned into quite a show this evening, hadn't it?
It has turned out to quite a show this evening.
An older Chevelle, and it looks like a Firebird or Camaro behind it.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Look at, they got another camera down the road. If everything's right lined up, look.
We have quite a few more vehicles. Here we have the Chevelle. The people are getting quite a show tonight.
They're getting. It's free, so they're obviously getting their money's worth.
Yes, they are, and they're getting a wonderful cross-section of vehicles. The antiques with the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and a great section of high-performance vehicles and regular street vehicles.
And there's a few of those hidden gems with the big engine and a nondescript body.
Yes, there are. Looks like that's a Buick. Was a Wildcat, the
Yep.
deuce and a quarter, and we have another Continental coming up. Love the suicide doors.
Now these suicide doors, because it happened to me and my friend, he took his uncle's car when he wasn't supposed to, and with the top down, we opened the 2 doors and we couldn't shut them.
Oh no, what happened? It kind of like ballooned the vehicle?
It bent a little bit. Something moved and we couldn't shut them, so we finally ended up
Well, it looks
doing.
like we have a rat rod here with a surfboard on it. Not sure where he's headed for, but I don't think the surf's up here in Berkeley.
Oh, I like that. That's nice. You got to understand that the monitor is just a few seconds ahead of what I can see with my eye.
Yes.
Another old Ford. Is that the Ford pickup thing again? Yeah.
It looks like it's
what they call it,
another Ford.
Econoline?
Econoline. Look at that. That one's got a tonneau cover covering the bed. So he's trying to preserve that bed of the vehicle. Another big Oldsmobile.
Now these old convertibles were an Edsel Ranchero style.
You know what?
I didn't
don't
know
know
they
if
had
they
that.
made one. I don't know. They've got me on that one, and I'm sure the purists out there are probably saying, you should know better.
Well,
but it looks like he might have turned it into one.
He might have.
Where it was a big one, then he turned it into one? Custom.
Down south, they used to have what they call flower cars, and that's what they would use them. They had Cadillac pickups.
Yes.
And Oldsmobile, all different kinds. But you don't see them up here in the Northeast.
No, and we've seen a lot of, I believe that's a Dodge there. I'm sure the purists are going to get us here but we have so many vehicles out here this evening. And there goes another Packard right there. Beautiful colors in like a chestnut brown and white. And they have an ambulance from Boran Ambulance, and it looks like they might be looking to pick up somebody to go.
Well, the
for the rest of the
part of it, nobody's in the back right now.
That's right. Nobody's in the back of the ambulance.
Now what happened? This can't be the end of it, can
It
it?
appears that it is.
We're suddenly getting regular cars.
Yes.
Which may become classic someday, but
not right now.
That's an interesting thing.
Yes.
Like you never see a K car at any of these.
That's
you
right.
ever think about
and
it?
on behalf of myself, Dave Gutierrez,
this is it. And our Super Nut, I hope you've had a little fun. I know we've certainly had a lot of fun.
We've had a great time here this evening. It turned out to be a great crowd here, and just a wonderful night in Berkley, Michigan. And we hope that you folks, if you don't get a chance to come to Berkeley to do shopping and dining, please consider joining us next year for the cruise again. I believe it'll be our 25th cruise.
Next year it'll be the 25th for Berkeley. It'll be 26th for the Woodward.
Yes.
But if this kind of whetted your appetite, that's a phrase.
Yes.
Look around. There'll be more shows through till about the middle, maybe even the end of September, depending on how well our weather holds out.
That's correct.
But
so
they won't be as nice as this. I don't think. This was really beautiful.
Yes, it was. So enjoy your evening, folks. God bless you. Be safe in your travels out there, and please think about joining us again next year.
Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Thank you.